Robert Bohn, Cloud Computing Program Manager at NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, located in Gaithersburg, Maryland.
Professor David Wallom from the University of Oxford, where I'm Associate Professor and Associate Director of Innovation at the university's E-Research Centre.
Okay, and we are here at the Cloudscape workshop in Brussels.
Okay. So as you were asking us about cloud standards, and I suppose I would start actually is where are we with the cloud landscape more generally? So Bob,
I want to take one more step back and say why standards in the first place, right? So standards have a way of building trust in the products that you're buying. They have a way, and that trust will then generate commerce, right? NIST works under the Department of Commerce, and so we're very interested in commercial aspects, and essentially standards and trust give you that commerce and finally jobs, right? So that's why we care about standards, and then it helps to build or create innovation in the marketplace. So once there's a standard in place and an implementation, David has an implementation, I have an implementation, and then let the best implementation win. So that's how standards are used in the first place. So regarding cloud standards, the first set of cloud standards came out about a year and a half ago at the ISO level in conjunction with the ITUT, and those standards were on a cloud computing vocabulary and also cloud computing reference architecture at the ISO level. So those are two international standards that we have right now. There's currently in the works through ISO cloud standardizations and service level agreements, which is a 4-part standard. Basically, part 1 is an overview, part 2 is metrics, part 3 is on requirements, and part 4 will be on security. Next, and that's numbered 19086. Okay, then there's ISO standard in process of 19941, which is on interoperability and portability. So that's the current state of cloud standards where we sit right now.
And from that point of view, what do you see with regard to the actual implementations of these standards? We've seen through various other smaller standards development organisations a number of standards developed, looking at particular parts of the cloud ecosystem. How do you see their implementation going forward? You know, that we've seen systems being developed using them, particularly here in Europe, and from that point of view, also then the intercloud activity. The use of standards is coming certainly within the cloud computing landscape, rather than just sort of the standards being developed. Getting people to actually use them is of course the next step. How do you see that being that path to adoption?
Okay, so I would say at least with the service level agreements, right? I think one way to implement that would be a good model of a good model for determining automated SLAs that would give a path to that. So you could then make a request wherever, some website, and say, I need a system that will give me 1,000 virtual machines, it will give me this much availability, whatever type of reliability, whatever type of security, where I could put that into a web page, and then a lot like what you and Michelle were doing, actually go out there and I'm trying to, the word's not interview, but poll different types of SLAs which are on websites, Microsoft website or whatever cloud provider website, and then to be able to determine which is the best model for you, or which is the best service level agreement or cloud provider for you. So that would be one sort of implementation that I see in the future.
Okay. We've seen, with the various European activities, the implementations around cloud interfaces, around data movement. I'm talking really around things like the OGF, OCCI, or the DMTF SIMI, and then SNIA and their cloud data movement interface. From that point of view, they're very broad standards. Do you see that these other standards in development are equally broad, or are they targeting down towards something that you would either adopt in whole or not adopt?
Well, I think that the standards you could pick and choose parts of them that you feel comfortable with. Some parts of it you may not have a good understanding of, and then you would have to get a good understanding, but it may not be useful for whatever your specific capability type that you're looking for, right?
Okay.
So that's how I feel about that.
So within the within the various activities that we have and are supporting here in Cloudscape with the CloudWatch activity, one of the key things is actually the approach to profiling.
Mm-hmm.
And we see that as a way of actually allowing a community to really nail down in hard specifics the different aspects of any particular standards they wish to use, so that there is guaranteed interoperability. We mentioned previously around picking and choosing, but picking and choosing and the flexibility and the path to standards development, of course, means compromise. And from that point of view, having us getting to a point where we don't compromise, but we specify with cast iron certainty what are the various aspects that need to be provided for a particular interface or a particular service, means that you do have interoperability between providers. The work within CloudWatch previously, for example, has thought about how you would collect together a group of projects or activities that you would say are similar enough so that a profile could be generated of those, so that it would actually support technical interoperability between those projects. That's been a European activity so far, but it's something that we'd certainly like to investigate how we can engage with US-based and other international organisations projects, so that we can get sort of a bigger community behind this idea of profiles. They of course developed out of the IETF and have been used very successfully there. And from that point of view, profiling together different standards so that you have a whole ecosystem is important going forward.
So you have different communities. You had identified several communities, and then you develop a profile for that community.
So yes, so the profiles that we've developed are effectively ways of representing different sets of requirements. We have the three identified areas are scientific computing, trusted clouds for public administration, and high performance specific applications. From that point of view, you can see they each would have different requirements for different types of standardization. Trusted clouds for public clouds for government, for example, advanced security. Trust is a key thing there. From that point of view, the actual APIs to actually access and use the clouds are of less importance to them. But the scientific computing clouds, the APIs, the standardization of those, the data movement, the accounting, all of those can be brought together into a single profile, so that you can effectively define what are the interfaces for interoperability to that particular cloud service.
These three profiles were coming out of, you say, analysis of European projects. But of course you expect that later on more profiles will be developed for other communities.
Absolutely. The reality is that what we've done within the CloudWatch, the first CloudWatch project, is essentially sow the seeds and create the foundational service for quantitative analysis of the cloud landscape. We're making that available publicly, so that any project that's working in this area can come and score itself and come and create a greater body of knowledge for itself on where it sits, on which projects it should be talking to, on which projects it's going to find commonality, both in Europe and across the rest of the world. We've created a self-scoring system so that projects themselves don't need to engage with CloudWatch, but actually can just come to the website, score themselves, and then see where they sit within the landscape.
Thank you both for this interview. For Premier Magazine, this was Ad Emmen reporting.
Thank you.
Thank you.